I just wanted to acknowledge the wonderful young team that I have working here at the museum. They're a wonderful group who make this place work, and I think we've taken it from what was a children's museum only 12 years ago to a much larger cultural hub for southwestern Ontario. I'm just delighted at the team. And I just want to acknowledge Caitlin, who has really worked hard. You can stand up, Caitlin. Who's really thrown herself at the aging dialogues to animate them and bring them to life. And I'd also like to just acknowledge from our board of directors, Mike Tennant, who's here at the back with his mom. Hello, Mom. I'm surprised you didn't get a better seat, Mike. I apologize on that one. But these guys were here really early. These people in the front rows were here very, very early. Also from our board of directors, from the executive of our board, I'm delighted to invite Linda Faby to the stage to say a few words. Linda?
Thank you very much, David. And I have to acknowledge that David is the best CEO of any museum anywhere. So, right? Applause, big applause. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor to be here this evening to introduce to you a lady who needs no introduction, and who I might add was very firmly told me that I was not to do much of an introduction. But I've got the mic right now, and you don't. You'll have it in just a minute. You're all here tonight, of course, because Hazel McCallion is here tonight. And we're so proud that you're here with us to celebrate the Aging Dialogues, because you truly are a dynamic, brilliant, beautiful, forward-thinking lady. It doesn't matter the age, it's the brilliance you bring to everything. Now, there are things you know about Hazel. You know that she was the mayor of Mississauga for how many years? 12 consecutive terms. 36 years consecutively, from the small Mississauga to the vibrant place it is today. She took it a long way to make Mississauga the incredible city it is. I believe the 6th largest in Canada. Is that correct? That's an amazing thing. You know that last fall, Hazel was appointed the Chief Elder Officer for Revera, and who better could Revera have chosen than Hazel to advise the senior leadership team on everything one would need to know about aging gracefully, aging with class, aging brilliantly. She's demonstrating that for us. But what I'd like to do is tell you a couple of things that maybe you don't know about Hazel. First of all, there's a young man who has a big position in Ottawa, Justin Trudeau. He is one of Hazel's biggest fans. Now, Hazel would say, I'm not a politician in terms of parties, but yeah, I helped that young guy out. So that would be our Prime Minister. Secondly, you may or may not know that Hazel was the recipient of the Order of Canada in 2005. That's a big deal, a very big deal. Congratulations, 11 years later. I'll bet many of you didn't know this, and I didn't know until I did a little bit of research, that Hazel was once a professional women's hockey player, and has had her skates on not that long ago. A couple of years ago was the last time you skated? Well done. Into your 90s and still out there playing on the ice. So that's amazing. In 2010, Hazel was awarded, received the honorary Doctor of Laws degree from the University of Toronto. That's quite an honor. And then in 2015, she was made special advisor to the University of Toronto's Mississauga site, which really makes sense since you are the Queen of Mississauga, that you should be the special advisor. So Hazel, we're so thrilled that you are here tonight, and especially to help us celebrate the Aging Dialogues. And we know we're going to have a wonderful evening. We know you'll be funny, you'll be insightful, you'll be poignant, and you'll tell it the way it is. The last thing I'll say is just our Member of Parliament for Kitchener Central is Raj Saini. He would love to have been here this evening, but he happens to be in Ottawa at the moment, so he asked to pass on his greetings. Hazel, it's my pleasure to invite you to come forward and entertain this crowd.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, my dear.
You listened very well. Yeah, you really did. You know, I've been at events where the introduction to the speaker was longer than the speaker. I've been to many events like that as mayor, and I always say, why? You know, they can, and usually the person is going to speak, it's all written in a pamphlet or something, but they repeat it, and that's dull, really dull. Well, it's great to be back in Kitchener. Great city, Kitchener. You're getting an LRT, and everybody's happy with it. That's not what I heard. We're getting an LRT too on your Ontario Street, and it hasn't begun yet. And as soon as it begins, we'll be in the same situation as Kitchener. People complaining about this, that, and the other thing, right? Because it's an inconvenience. Okay. Progress is an inconvenience, by the way. Any progress. Progress in your life, progress in a project, progress in this project. Converting this beautiful, I want to congratulate you on this facility. And especially the fact of the great work you're doing for Alzheimer's or people with dementia. Well, I'm the CEO, as you say, of Revera. But when I tell people I'm CEO, I don't say what it means. I'll say, you know, I'm the CEO of Revera, and they think, oh my gosh, at 95 you become the head of a large corporation? I said, yes, I'm the chief elder officer. And then they laugh. I don't know why, but they do. So tonight I want to talk to you, I guess the only thing I can tell you about is how I got to be 95. It's not easy, because life is a highway, and it's not as congested as 401, but it's congested. There's many problems along the way of the highway of life. But it can be either enjoyable and in spite of the stresses and problems that we experience. But every stressful situation and every difficult situation makes us a better person, a stronger person, more independent, that we can handle the things of the future. So if it was a highway that didn't have any congestion on it or any challenges, it would be dull, quite honestly. That's hard to believe, because I think maybe we think that it would be wonderful if there were no problems. We just sailed through life. Well, aging, you know, I always say you're only as old as you think. I don't think I'm very old. I really don't. I cut my own grass. I look after my own garden. I look after my own house. I have a beautiful German Shepherd, and I have to look after my German Shepherd. Unfortunately, my husband left me in 1997, and he had Alzheimer's, by the way. So I know what it's all about, etc. But here we are. Well, I guess anything that you undertake depends on your attitude. What is your attitude? You know, even when you were young, when you were a teenager, attitude determined a lot of things about your future. So attitude follows you right along that highway, all the way. And it's either good or bad. And so it's entirely up to you. Are you going to be unhappy? Are you going to be try to be positive about things that you do? Very considerate of others, because I'm sure if I asked the number of people in this audience, that every one of you that you're a volunteer in some way or has been a volunteer through your life. When I look at the city of Mississauga and I see the thousands of kids that play hockey, and even more thousands that play soccer, and baseball, and cricket, just in the sports alone, we would never be able to do it without the volunteers, the managers, the coaches, etc. Those people are contributing, and that's what makes their journey along the highway far more encouraging and far more satisfying, because they know that they have contributed. They've brought some joy or opportunity to kids to be able to excel either in swimming, excel in your swimming coach, or excel in hockey. And by the way, the Leafs would like to know if more people in the Greater Toronto Area would excel in hockey. I must tell you the joke about the Leafs, by the way. In the summer, as you know, the maple leaf is a beautiful green color. And then come September, it starts to turn red, and then in December, it dies. And that's exactly the Leafs. They're well named the Leafs, I can assure you. But anyway, but getting back to the community, it's entirely up to each and every one of us to contribute in some way to the community. Because a community is only as great as its people. It's not the government. It's not the local government. It's not the provincial government. By the way, the best level of government is local government. I can tell you that, just to give you an explanation. The federal government has all the money, the provincial government has all the authority, and local government has all the problems. Are there any politicians in the audience? Local. Because we look after you every day. We look after you every day. If you turn your tap on, the water's there because of local government. You flush your toilet, you can do it because of local government. The parks is there because, the community centers, the hospitals. And think about a community, what it is made up of. And it only happens because of decisions made at the local level with outstanding contribution of the citizens in many ways. Think of all the service clubs in Kitchener. I know in Mississauga I had 7 Rotary clubs to attend their meetings. That was really tough to get to all their meetings because they want you to come to at least one of them, etc. And that is a community. So those service clubs, the swimming pool built in Streetsville by the Lions Club, the arena contributed in Malton by the Lions Club and the Legion. You see, the community is made up of generous, dedicated, committed citizens. Not all, by any means, because some feel that the government should do everything for them. But then there are those, and I'm sure the audience tonight is filled with people. Now let's talk about the people that enter retirement value. Again, retirement is just another road, another section along that highway. What is your attitude about it? Are you going to say, oh, gee, I have to leave my home and I have to go? You have to look at it as a home away from home. That's the way you should look at it. And I'll tell you what Revera does. They have me conduct roundtables at their retirement homes. And it's absolutely astounding to hear the past and the reasons why they moved into a retirement home. It's absolutely right. And most of them said, yes, it was a change. I had to accept the change, and it wasn't easy at point, but it was the best decision I ever made. Best decision. See, I remember I spoke in, I think it was Paris, to a retirement home. And after I spoke to the group, I went down and shook hands with a lot of the seniors, etc. And at one table was a gentleman and his mother. And he said to me, "You just made my day." And I said, what did I do for him? I was speaking about his mother. And he said, I promised I would never move my mother into a retirement home. He was a bachelor. I guess he would be 45 or 48. And he said, you convinced me today that it was the best thing I ever did. So I said to his mother, are you happy? And she said, yes. What was happening there was that he lived with his mother. She was alone all day, and she looked forward to him coming home. And he gave his whole life up to that. He didn't feel he could engage in other activities because mother was waiting for him at home. Now she's in the retirement home, Revera, where she's talking to people all day long if she wants to, and getting meals made. He made the meals for his mother, if you can believe it. And so it was the best thing, as he said, I really did, and yet I had promised her I would never. So it just shows you that those decisions, and it's a change. You know, one of the problems today is people accepting change. And I'll tell you, with the movement in technology and what's happening, we better get with it. Because I'll tell you, it's happening every day. Technology, you know, I was told the other night that in British Columbia, General Electric is working on something that they can go by your house and tell whether your security system is on or not. Think about it. I mean, advancement in technology. So why don't we advance in life that way and realize that the change is there and take advantage of the changes that are occurring so that that journey along that highway is more acceptable and more enjoyable, even in spite of its problems that we run into. So, you know, how many in the audience experienced the Depression? Can you put up your hand? The Depression, not a recession. Well, I'm a Depression kid, and I went through a Depression. You know what? Taught me some things that has helped me throughout life, and that is I had very little. My mom and dad couldn't send me to university. I could only get a high school education, and yet I have a Doctor of Laws free of charge at the University of Toronto. I have a Doctor of Social Science at Sheridan College. And on June the 7th, I'll be inaugurated as the first Chancellor of Sheridan College. I got a high school education. So you see, it depends on what you want to accomplish in life. I knew that I had to work hard, and I had knew that people along the way would help me if I worked hard and was appreciative of things that people did for me. I remember when I boarded in, oh yeah, I'm from the Gaspé Coast, you know, that little town on the Gaspé Coast. Had to go away with my sister, who was a school teacher, to take my grade 10, and went to Quebec City for grade 11 and graduated from there. Went to Montreal, took a business course at the Notre Dame Secretarial School, run by the Sisters of Notre Dame. Started to work. How did I get to Toronto? Well, started to work with this firm that engineers and contractors in the petrochemical field. And during the war, in 1942, we were awarded the contract to build the world's first synthetic rubber plant at Sarnia because the natural rubber had been cut off by the enemy. And so they had to produce, they had to produce unnatural oil. So they forced Goodyear to release the formula. So the boss in Montreal said, would you come to Toronto? Because the government said you had to set up the office in Toronto. Would you come to Toronto and help me set up the office? So I did. Well, in Toronto, it was a war contract. After the war, there were no more contracts because we were in the oil refinery and chemical plant construction business, engineers and contractors. So they left me in charge of the office. And then the company said, when I had completed the contract, I mean all the specifications, they said, do you want to go back to Montreal? You want to stay in Toronto? I had joined St. Michael All Angels Church. I don't know how many in the audience are Anglicans. They're dying these days, but anyway. I'm an Anglican. I joined St. Michael All Angel Church, got involved in the Anglican Young People's Association. Can you believe I rose to be president, national president of it? So I said to them, I want to stay in Toronto because that Anglican Young People's Association was so great. Really enjoyed it. I thought, boy, this is something, really something. And so they transferred the head office from Montreal to Toronto. I don't know of any company that transferred the head office to another city because of a person being attached to a church. But that was it. Anyway, so we were the company I worked for is the company that devised the process for taking oil out of the tar sands, Fort McMurray. And so I was sent out to Fort McMurray, not to live, but to see it, etc. I had a wonderful time with Canadian Kellogg. In fact, many people thought it was Kellogg Company of Canada, the cornflakes. You can't imagine the coupons we got. It was out of the Kellogg boxes because they thought we were the cereal company, etc. So I retired. I retired from the job to help my husband in the printing business. He had a printing business. And then I got into politics in 1968. I ran as Reeve of Streetsville. The women worked against me like mad. They said, where did this wild woman come from that wants to get in a man's world? Well, I was defeated the first year. It was a one-year term, and went back the next year and won. And then rose to be Reeve, and then I was mayor of Streetsville for 3 years before Bill Davis came along and put Streetsville, Port Credit, and the town of Mississauga together to form the city of Mississauga, you know. Would you believe that in 1978, that was in 1974, regional government, like Kitchener-Waterloo, came into Peel. And I ran for mayor in 1978. And I believe the women elected me in 1978 in Mississauga. See the change between 68 and 78. Just shows you the change that occurs, you see. So all of you in the audience tonight, you accept change. Don't fight it. It's not much use. You have to accept it, make the best of it, because I always believe if you give the best to whatever you do, the best will come back to you in some way or other. And so I, as you say, I played hockey. I was at Oakville addressing the retirement home occupants. And after I spoke, this gentleman stood up and he said, he called me Madam Mayor. People still do call me Madam Mayor, I don't know why, but I guess I was mayor so long that, and he said, I knew your husband. He said, I sold paper to him because my husband was in the printing business. But he said, I also worked for Kick Cola in Montreal. Well, that was the company that sponsored the team that I played for. And he said, I have 2 big bottles of Kick Cola for you, and they're 50 years old. Now, don't open them at home because it could blow your house up. I was out in Vancouver last week for Revera, a speaking engagement at a conference out there, and then I visited 5 of their homes. Guess who I met? But the Speaker of the House of Commons, under Mulroney. Wonderful man that I had a long chat with. And then to my right at the round table was a gentleman that used to be vice president of the Bank of Montreal. You know, they have a number of vice presidents, the banks. They like to pay out money to the people. So the staff had told me before I went in. He was down to Montreal a week before I was out there. Flew to Montreal for a very special event of the Bank of Montreal. Guess what age he is? 102. Just in good health and just interested in everything. You see, aging can be a beautiful thing. What is the, you know, when you look back over your childhood and even your adulthood, there were times that I'm sure you wished you weren't an adult, and I'm sure there's times you weren't a young person. Isn't that true, as we look back? So what is different about aging? It's all in the way you look at it. It's going to be just another journey, another step along that highway. And your attitude is so important. Secondly, just because you're of a certain age, when I think of people that have retired and they tell me they're busier than when they were working, isn't that right? How many people have you talked to that said they're retired? Because they took advantage of every opportunity to keep living with passion. They have a passion to live. And if you have a passion to live, then you get involved. That's exactly it. Because I remember my husband's dad that retired from CIL, and he just sat in his rocking chair every day and smoked a pipe, I remember so well. Well, he ended up in a nursing home because he had dementia. Now, I know I'm not a doctor, so please, yeah, I'm doctor of laws. Joke. You know what? To get an honorary degree in laws, you can't imagine how much I had trouble with lawyers when I was mayor. And often I threw them out of my boardroom because I'd say to them, we're not going to settle this matter with two lawyers. Out you go. And then we'd settle the matter. So can you imagine? Now I'm doctor of laws. That's quite the... Oh, life is so exciting and so interesting, you know. And the company that I work for, I must tell you, built... How many have been to Mississauga, the best city in Canada? Well, you know the Three Sisters down at the lakefront, those big stacks. In fact, I'm quite a fisherman, and I can tell you they were great they served as guides to fishermen in foggy days, etc. Well, I worked for the company that built it, Canadian Kellogg, so I was paid to build it. And can you imagine that just a few years ago, I had the privilege of pressing the button to destroy it. And I pressed the button and those forward just folded down. Isn't that something? So it just shows you how things go around. And it's all in your attitude as to whether or not you really want to make progress and whether you're going to enjoy life. And I can tell you from my visits to the Revera retirement homes and long-term care, they are aiming to the very best in that business, the very best. Why have they engaged me? To have roundtables to find out from a group of representatives of the occupants of the retirement homes and how the service can be improved. That's my job. So they feel that maybe their residents would feel easier to talk to me and say, you know, we think this should be done or we think this should be corrected, etc. And the roundtable. But I'll tell you, as I said to their board just a few weeks ago, they had a big board meeting. They brought all their directors together, the board directors. And as I told them, never once of the 18 homes that I visited and have they complained about the staff. Isn't that something? So that to me, oh, they did complain that maybe there wasn't enough staff. And I said, well, that's, you know, I get a kick. Just because they complain about something, I usually go back and say, well, when I was mayor, people would phone. There's parking on my street, and you're parking control illegally, and your parking control officers, we phoned them, and they took a day to get there. I said, well, isn't that interesting? So did it harm you that it was illegal parking for one day? And secondly, if you want me to have our parking control people respond just because you made a call, your taxes are going to go up because I'll hire more people sitting around waiting for calls to go against illegal parking. You got to explain to people. I think that's one thing that I went out of my way. People would say, why are the taxes going up? That is a favorite, and I'm sure your mayor would agree. That's a favorite. Why are the taxes going up? Well, I said, and I always took the time, I said, well, you filled your car up this morning with gas, is that right? Yeah. What did the gas cost you? Oh, price has gone up. Really? Well, I said, you have one car, and maybe you have two. We only have 600 cars in the parking and parking and staffing of the city, cars, and we have about close to 700 or 800 trucks, etc. So can you guess what our gas bill is? Oh, yeah. Secondly, I said, your hydro rates went up. And you know that they're going up again. Oh, yeah. Well, I said, when the hydro rate went up, our hydro bill at the city went up 1.8 million. Oh, how come? I said, do you have a street light in front of your house? Yeah. You see, people don't realize and relate. And I said, you know, unfortunately, I haven't figured it out, but the staff seems to want an increase every so often. I don't understand it, but that's it. And secondly, we have unions that if you don't give them an increase, they strike. So, and fire and police and paramedics are not allowed to strike, so they get the increases automatically. Oh, yeah. Now, do you understand why the taxes are going up? Yeah, no. It's all in relationship. And people are unhappy about that. But if you take the time to explain it to them. I also say, I live in a house. The roof needed to be replaced. The air conditioner has been replaced. My furnace has been replaced. Think of all the buildings that the city owns that those things happen to. So, anyway, people will accept an understanding or explanation, but it's a case of looking at things, assessing things, and determining, like you've done through your life. By the way, when it came to spending money, I said, I only spend your money the same way I spend mine, which is seldom. And they like that. So it's all attitude. And so we look at that journey. Secondly, I've said to the residents of you were volunteers in the community doing something. Why do you stop when you get into a retirement home and say, oh, yeah, everybody now can look after me. I need this, I need that, and complain if it isn't given. I said, you were helping people out in the community. You were looking after things yourself at home. Why do you think when you move into a retirement home that you want everybody to wait on you? In fact, that's one good way to age. Doing nothing, letting others do it for you. And I'm amazed at some of the residents in the Revera homes that say, oh, well, the lady that lives 2 doors down in these independent residents, you know, she can't do this, and I go in every morning and do it for her. I said, that is living. That is not aging, that is living. Living the fullest till, you know, the day comes when we leave this world. Even people that are incapacitated. Because, you know, the thing that it absolutely inspires me when I see handicapped kids, physically handicapped, what they can accomplish. Look at the Olympics. They go into the Olympics, they can do swimming, they can do that. They can sometimes do it better than we can. Isn't that right? So it just shows you attitude. It's the attitude of those young people that participate in the Olympics, that they are determined they can do it, and they do it. And that's life. You have to be determined that you want to be successful. And to be successful is not the money you make. It's the way you enjoy life, the journey along that road, highway of life. It is entirely that. Money is helpful, yeah, there's no question about it. But I tell you, I've met a lot of people in my years that were very wealthy but extremely unhappy. See? So happiness is entirely up to you. And I don't know how many, well, we have our wonderful people from the Revera home here in Kitchener. I'm sure you realize that you're enjoying living. Yes, you had to leave your... Oh, one lady told me, it was interesting. This is something, I'm learning so much, I think I'm going to live to be over 100. Because it inspires me to really carry on. This one lady said, you know, I'm really enjoying life in the retirement home. She said, when my children used to come and visit me in my home, she said, I had a long list. Fix the door, cut the lawn, do this, the toilet isn't working right, etc. She said, when my children come to visit me now in the retirement home, it truly is a visit. Before, they were given all kinds of duties to perform. So she said, when they come now with their children or my grandchildren, she said, I really enjoy my kids coming to visit me. But when they came before, I had all kinds of jobs for them to do because I lived alone. See, she looks at the advantages of moving into the retirement home. So she's as happy as a lark and will enjoy that until she departs this world. You know, there's a saying that it's not what you take with you when you leave this world, it's what you leave behind. And many people don't make a contribution when they have every opportunity to make it. Because, quite honestly, people will not remember somebody that has made no contribution. But if you've made a contribution, either visiting, driving cancer patients to treatment, working in the hospitals, I just get so delighted to walk into I'm life guardian of all my hospitals in Mississauga. We have 3, 2 and 1 in Etobicoke. We decided to take it over out of Etobicoke. We have 3. And to go into the hospitals and see the volunteers on the desk, or the volunteers taking people down for treatment or for x-rays or what. See, those people really enjoy life. So I hope that you folks are, I know you are, because Kitchener is a great community, and I know it depends greatly on the involvement of its people, because a community is only as great, as I said before, as its people. People make a great community. It's not the politicians that make a great community. It's the people. And when they are determined to provide additional services or look after those that need help, that will raise funds for worthy causes in the community, those are the people that make the community. And so I know that you are. Well, I have a few, oh, by the way, there's a lot of wives in the audience, and this couple was having a very big argument as to who should brew the coffee in the morning. And she said that her husband should do it, and he said no. He said, I married you, and you're a wife, and you're to do the housework and prepare the meals, and you are to brew the coffee in the morning. So they argued for a while, and they didn't seem to get the end of it. She said, well, get the Bible. And he thought, what? Get the Bible? She said, it says in the Bible that you're to brew the coffee. He laughed. He thought, this is really a big joke. So anyway, she convinced him to go and get the Bible. Fortunately, the house had a Bible. Some houses don't have them, a Bible. And she got the Bible. And she said, now, open it to Hebrews. I think that's cute. I don't know who told me that joke. And I have another one, if I can find it here. I think I brought it with me. Oh, yeah, here it is. This gentleman wrote a letter. This could be to the mayor of Kitchener. I think it could be. Anyway, wrote a letter. He said, gentlemen, I've been riding your trains daily for the last 2 years, and the service on your line seems to be getting worse every day. I'm tired of standing in the aisle all the time on a 14-mile trip. I think the transportation system is worse than that enjoyed by people 2,000 years ago. Oh, gosh. Yours truly, guess what? An Irishman, Patrick Finnegan. That's a typical Irishman. How many Irish in the crowd? Oh, yeah. Okay, so he got a letter back. Dear Mr. Finnegan, we received your letter with reference to the shortcomings of our service and believe you are somewhat confused in your history. The only mode of transportation 2,000 years ago was by foot. Sincerely, was by foot. Yeah, sincerely, Emroyd, well, whoever the guy was, the general manager. Gentlemen, I am the receipt of your letter, and I think you are the ones who are confused on your history. You will refer to the Bible, again, and the book of David, 8th chapter. You will find that Balaam rode to town on his ass. That, gentlemen, is something that I have not been able to do on your train in the last 2 years. I tell you, some funny, really funny jokes. But anything, I also want to tell you that everything I need to know, I learned from Noah's Ark. Oh, gee. Well, I get it here. I can remember it, but it's much better if I can read it. I have a friend that sends me these jokes, which I think are just great. She thinks that I should. Okay. Everything I need to know, I learned from Noah's Ark. I bet you folks did too. Don't miss the boat. The ark was built by Noah, and it wasn't raining. And you know what? I compare that to climate change. I think if Noah was here, he would be taking action on climate change before it becomes a disaster. And by the way, in regard to climate change, I want to tell you, it's up to each one of us to contribute to climate change. Don't look to the government to tell you what to do. You can find it out very easily. Very simple things that you can do every day about climate change. Think about it. Plan ahead, because it wasn't raining, as I say, when Noah built the ark. Stay fit. Well, we have to stay fit. If you want to enjoy life, you got to be active to stay fit, physically and mentally, both. Because when you get to be 600 years old, which I hope I never would be, someone might ask you to do something very important. Don't listen to critics. Just get on with the job that needs to be done. And I'll tell you, as mayor, you get a lot of criticism. There's no question about it. I think of the guy that phoned me one day and said, Madam Mayor, you support toll roads. I said, well, I think it's another way of raising money. We got to pay for roads, we got to pay for transit, and it's one way, but there's other ways, income tax. Well, he said, you've been a supporter of mine for so many years, and I'm very disappointed. I said, by the way, have you ever driven 407? Dead silence at the other end of the road. It's a toll road. Drives it every morning. I tell you, right. So you have to respond to criticism. I never thought criticism. I'd say to people, if you didn't call me that there was a hole in the road or a tree fell across the road, how would we know? That's not a criticism. That's what you should be. Because we don't know the trees across the road, so somebody has to call to tell us, and then the staff goes out and fixes it. So don't think you're being critical. Just keep us well informed on what's going on in your community, because I'm not in your community every day. And when you tell me that something is not being done that should be, like cleaning the washrooms in community centers, I'd get calls about that. I can't do something about it I don't know. But if you tell me there's something wrong, then it's up to me to do something about it. So criticism should just get on with the job. Build your future on high ground. Well, that is good advice for all of us. Our future's got to be on very high ground, because with flooding today that's occurring, I'll tell you, your house better be on high ground. For safety's sake, travel in pairs. Well, now that's good advice, Noah taught, because today, with the crime that is occurring in our municipalities, I'll tell you, there isn't a day that we experience in the Greater Toronto area that there isn't a stabbing or somebody shot. Think years ago, and many of the age, we thought Chicago was a bad place of all the shootings. I hope we don't think Toronto and the large cities will become what Chicago used to be known as. So, speed isn't always an advantage. The snails were on board with the cheetahs. When you're stressed, float a while. That's very important. We all experience stress. You know, stress is good. It's a good thing, stress. It teaches us to sit back and realize, why am I being stressed? I should find out. What is it? What's bothering me that is stressful? My job, my family, or whatever. And when you do that, then you overcome stress, because you took the time to look at it, assess it, and determine what can be done about it. Now, this is it. Remember, the ark was built by amateurs, because Noah was an amateur. The Titanic was built by professionals. I don't know about you folks. Anyway, it's just a pleasure to be here with you tonight, and I hope that maybe some of the experiences, but I want to tell you, it's been, when I looked at retirement as mayor, when I was working 7 days a week, from early morning till 10 or 11 at night, because it was a big city. Remember, we took Mississauga from a rural area and built it into the 6th largest city in Canada. You don't do that without a lot of good staff, good counselors, good people in the community. That's how we built the city of Mississauga. And so, you know, it's been a real pleasure. And I'm just delighted that Revera would consider to engage me as their chief elder officer, so that I can try to help people that are aging, that aging is just a matter of mind over matter. And it's completely up to your attitude. Listen, I want to continue skating till I can't skate anymore. I want to continue to be active until I can't be active anymore. And every opportunity that comes along, I'm going to take advantage of it and enjoy it. Yes, it means a lot of planning, etc., but it can be done. So enjoy life. You have to have a passion for it, And second, aging is just a wonderful part of the journey along that beautiful highway of life. Thank you.
Answer. Okay, and just before you go, we have something we wanted to give you from young Caitlin here.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you very much. I was in Vancouver last week. Lilac trees in blossom, flowers all over the place, trees with all their leaves. Came back to Mississauga, woke up Saturday morning, everything's dead.
Well, thank you very, very much. If I could just say one thing selfishly, one message I heard and one thing we need at the museum is all of your expertise and volunteering here. So please consider that. Thank you all for coming. And Hazel, enjoy your trip, and thank you for joining us tonight.